Hi, welcome to Business Time. I am Melisha. Remember to subscribe, like, and share. Today, we will be going through the Principles of Business January 2021 exam paper. Remember now that your exam paper consists of 5 questions and you're to do all questions. Let's look at the first question. List 4 essential characteristics of a good leader. Can you think of any? All right. So you have honest, flexible, stay focused even under pressure, inspire workers to do their job well. Those are some characteristics of a good leader. Next question. Outline 2 techniques for effective communication in the classroom. Think about it. All right. So, for there to be effective communication in the classroom, the teacher should listen to students. When a teacher listens to the students, she's able to check what they understand, build on their ideas, and even challenge or question them. So remember, this question is asking you to outline. And so if you're outlining, you have to give a brief, you have to expand briefly on your point. Okay? The second technique is that students should give feedback. It is good when students give their teachers feedback by answering questions and sharing their views. This will help the teacher to know how much students understand. Let's look at part C. So here it is. It says, the coaches of the football and cricket teams of Sunnyside High School were very concerned about the high level of indiscipline and poor performance displayed by members of their respective teams. In seeking to address the problem, the coach of the football team drafted a new set of rules and informed team members that anyone who failed to comply with the rules would be dismissed from the team. The coach of the cricket team sought to address the problem by calling a meeting with the players and their parents, inviting them to suggest solutions to the problem. So what the first part of the question is, identify the style of leadership displayed by each coach. What style of leadership was displayed by the coach of the football team? And what style of leadership was displayed by the coach of the cricket team? All right, the football coach used the autocratic leadership style. Why? Because he did not consult anyone. He just made his own decisions and told others what the decision was. The cricket coach, however, he used the democratic leadership style. Why we say that? Because he consulted the players and their parents for suggestions. All right, so let's look at this question now. State one advantage and one disadvantage of each style of leadership identified in C1. So you will be required to state one advantage and one disadvantage of the autocratic leadership style, and one advantage and one disadvantage of the democratic leadership style. Think about it for a minute and see if you can come up with an answer. All right, so let's look at it. The autocratic leadership style, an advantage is that quick decisions can be made. And why we say this? Because the autocratic leader will not consult anyone. And so he's the only one making the decision. And so, hey, the decision making process will be quick. A disadvantage of the autocratic leadership style is that it can demotivate workers who want to participate in the decision making process, because sometimes the workers, they really have an idea, because they're the ones doing a particular job. They know exactly how the issue can be resolved. And so when management will not consult them, it can demotivate them. All right. The democratic leadership style advantage: the leader can get ideas from others to solve the problems. And this is rightfully so, because sometimes as a leader, you do not know everything. And so it's so good to hear from others, and they can come up with varied, solutions, ideas, suggestions that you would have never thought about. Disadvantage: the decision making process is slow, because the leader will now be consulting workers, right? So it's going to take some time for a final decision to be arrived at. All right, the next question: outline 3 strategies that could be used by the coaches to motivate team members. And so I want you to think about it now, right? So here it is: motivational strategies. And we know that we have financial motivational strategies and non-financial motivational strategies. So this question is really now requiring you to think deeply and to apply the knowledge that you have. What are some strategies that the coaches could use to motivate the team? All right, so here are some strategies that the coaches could use. The first one is to give awards to team members when they depict the kind of behavior that the team needs to display, such as best behaving players, or most cooperative players. This can be done on a monthly or quarterly basis, and I'm sure this is something that the team members will look forward to. The second strategy is that they can set goals for both individual players and the team. This will help the team to be driven to work together to achieve the goals that were set. When you're working towards something, and you know that you're to do this, it gives you a drive, a pull to get done what needs to be done. And the third one can give the team monetary compensation when they perform well for every game played or on a time period decided on by the team. That would be good. Persons who are motivated by money will work hard to receive it. And there are other strategies as well. The coach could also use words of encouragement to motivate the team when they are doing something good, right? So you realize that this is 2 marks each. And the fact that you're asked to outline it, you cannot just state it or say give awards to team members and stop there. No, you have to give a brief explanation of what you're saying, because it's 2 marks. Okay? So we are moving on to question number 2. 2A1 says, list 4 steps that should be taken in establishing a business. Anybody can come up with the steps? Challenge yourselves and try to see if you can figure it out before I show you the answer. All right, let's go through these 4 steps. There's conceptualizing, there's research, identification of resources, creation of a business plan, and you have others like acquisition of funds and operation of the business. And it's just listing, and it's 1 mark each. If you list it, you list all 4, you get your 1 mark. Remember not to leave any question blank. Even if you think it's the silliest answer that you could ever give, write it down. You might just be surprised. You get a mark. Okay? The next question, identify the two main sources of information necessary for conducting research into the establishment of a business. Two main sources. How will a business go about collecting data, or as is on here, get information? What are the sources to get information? All right, so the two main sources of information, they are primary data and secondary data. And I hope that you remember what these are, right? Primary data are sources where information is not in existence yet, and so you will have to go and gather it. And persons would normally do that through means such as survey, interviews, right? Secondary data, this data is already out there, and so there you can find them in books, in journals, in articles. Yeah, just information that's already written, already there, and you just need to search for it. All right, the next question, state 4 reasons for preparing a business plan. Are you able to come up with any reason yet? I need you to try. At least with one. All right, so here are some reasons that you could put to research the business idea, right? Because when you're doing the business plan, it forces you to do necessary research to come up with information to put in your business plan to attract potential investors. If you're going to get persons to invest in your business, they're going to want to see how viable your business is. As an investor, I will only want to invest in a business that has great potential, has the ability to be very successful. And the only way I am going to know that is when I read your business plan, right? The third source is to source financing. So if you're going to need a loan, maybe from a financial institution or so on, they usually require to see your business plan as well. And the fourth reason is to guide your decision making. So when you're planning for your business, it will help you to make the right decisions, right? So other reasons for preparing a business plan, like to plan for future events, and also to use it as a guide to achieve business goals and objectives. All right, let's look at the next question. Outline 2 differences between short-term planning and long-term planning. Come up with any ideas yet? Short-term planning, long-term planning. All right, so let's see what I have. Now, one of the things I need to remind you, when you're required to tell the difference between 2 things, it is important that you speak to a common factor, right? So that you can highlight the difference. So if you're going to tell the difference, for example, between 2 girls, right? You could speak to their hair. What type of hair do they have? One of the girls' hair is long or the other is short. So you must speak to the same factor. So let's look at this. All right, so let's see if we can identify the difference here. Short-term planning is done in order to achieve business goals and objectives within a year, while long-term planning is to achieve the goals and objectives after 3 or 4 years and longer. So you can see here that the common factor that we're speaking to is the duration, for how long short-term planning takes, how long long-term planning will take, right? And so we can pick up that the difference here is that short-term planning within a year and long-term planning 3 or 4 years or longer. Now, the other difference, short-term planning or for things that are usually done on a daily, monthly, or weekly basis. For example, if you need to buy supplies for production, so if you make shoe, you need to buy the leather, the buckle, and long-term planning now is for things to achieve in the long term. For example, if you're going to open a branch in another parish or another country. And so the common factor that we're speaking to here is, what are the things that you plan for in the short term? What are the things that you can plan for in the long term? So again, when you're telling the difference between two things, you must speak to the same factor so that the difference can be clearly seen. Okay? Next question. Explain one benefit of collateral to the borrower and one benefit to the lender in the establishment of a business. Now, the key thing is that you must remember what is a collateral. Remember that a collateral is something of value that the borrower must give to the lender, and it must be of similar value to the amount that is being borrowed, so that in case you do not pay back your loan, the lender can use it, right, to get back money that you had borrowed, right? So it's important that you remember what is a collateral. So what's the benefit of a collateral to the lender? What's the benefit of collateral to the borrower? Have you come up with any ideas yet? Yes, no? Okay. Let's look at a benefit of collateral to the borrower. A benefit is that it will allow the borrower to be able to get a secured loan, because without it, you would not be able to access the loan, right? So when a borrower is able to put up a car title or a house title that can be used as a collateral, right, as a security for a loan, he will be able to acquire the necessary funding that he needs to start his business, expand it, or buy other necessary assets. So of course, a borrower being in a position to have to put up an asset as a collateral is a very good thing, right? And secured loans are usually greater, more risky loans that have a larger amount, right, that can be borrowed. And so a lot of persons are not able to get certain amount of money to be borrowed because they just don't have the assets to put up as collateral. So that's a big benefit to the borrower. A benefit of collateral to the lender is that the lender will be in a position to get back the money in case the borrower defaults on the loan or does not pay back the loan, right? So the lender will be able to sell the asset that was put up as collateral to get back the money that was given. So it's a win-win situation, yeah, for both the borrower and the lender. And again, it says explain, right? So it means that you have to ensure that you go in greater detail than what you would do when you're outlining something. And also what is good when you're explaining as well is when you can even give examples that will help. All right, we're at question 3. A1, define the term factors of production. Well, you will know that factors of production are the resources that are used by a business in the creation of goods and services. So one of the things that you must take note of is that without the factors, no production can take place. No business can be in operation, right? So they are needed for the business to be productive. Okay? 4 factors of production. Remember, land, labor, capital, and enterprise. Remember those. And in this case, you just need to list them, 1 mark each, and you're good to go. The next question is for you to define the term extractive production. Now, this involves the removal of resources or raw materials supplied naturally or provided by nature. These resources are either above or below the Earth's surface. Like when persons do mining, they remove whatever it is that they're removing from under the earth. When persons are fishing, the fish appear naturally. Nobody makes the fish, the fish out there in the sea. God made them, and they appear naturally. So that's extractive production. Those are some examples of extractive production. And you have the next question says, identify 2 industries that can be developed from agricultural produce in the Caribbean. So basically, it's asking you what other businesses depend on the agricultural industry. Yeah, you have the food processing industry, right? So when you think of like Grace, and they will have their canned food and so on, the food, they process the food, right, to also that helps the food to be preserved. Of course, you have the restaurant industry. They need the things from the agricultural industry or the agricultural produce, such as the yam, the banana, the cashew, the cocoa, all of those things. Okay, I don't know if any of you know what cocoa looks like. You know dashi. You need to check it out if you don't know. Alrighty. So we have the next question here. Question here C. Outline 2 benefits of developing backward linkage industries. Now, it's important that you are able to tell the difference between backward linkage industry and forward linkage industry. So remember now, backward linkage industry is where you get your raw material from for you to be able to provide your good or offer your service. And the forward linkage industry is the other businesses that you supply your goods to. Okay? Now, what are the benefits of developing backward linkage industry? Can you think of any? All right, so hear this. The first benefit is that businesses will be able to get the raw material for production to take place. Many businesses are not in a position to provide their own raw materials or resources to make their goods. And remember, it says outline, so you cannot just list it. You have to give a little bit more detail. All right. And the second benefit, it helps the businesses to have a sense of security, and they're able to confidently now produce their goods, knowing that they have a reliable source from which they are to get their raw material. Next question. Explain how 2 factors could affect a country's supply of labor. Let's look at them. Increase in wages. All right, so when wages increase, more people will be willing to work and to even work for longer hours, thus increasing the labor supply of the country, as you will have less people migrating and more educated people available to work, so the country will not be in a crisis. Because there are times when skilled workers, they do migrate because they're saying that they are not getting enough pay, when they can go to another country and be paid a lot more, right? So if persons within a country, if they get good pay, naturally they will stay, so there will not be a shortage of supply of labor. The second one, difficulty of getting qualifications, right? And this is rightfully so. If it is difficult to get necessary training or qualifications for certain jobs, then there will be a shortage of labor in a particular field. And sometimes two persons may not have the money to train themselves in school, or that particular type of training is not available in the home country, and persons usually are not able to get trained because they don't have the resources or money to travel to another country to study, right? And scholarships, maybe not everybody might be able to access scholarships, so that can affect a country's supply. Those are two factors that can affect a country's supply of labor. Also, you can think of poor working conditions of certain jobs, right? So if the conditions are poor, nobody's going to want to work in that area. The demographic changes. For example, if the population gets older, right? The past the retirement age, then the country is going to have less persons available to work. Okay. All right, let's look at this next question. Question 4, we will wrap up. Yes, remember there are 5 questions, so we're at question 4. Good. Anne operates a wholesale ice cream and yogurt business. She wants to introduce a new ice cream flavor to the market. Good. So she's already selling ice cream and yogurt, and so she's creating a new flavor. So A says, identify 4 factors which could determine the packaging and presentation of this new ice cream flavor. Think about it. The packaging now is what the ice cream will come in. Right. And the presentation, basically how it's going to look. So what are some of the factors that should be considered when determining the type of packaging and presentation of the ice cream flavor of the new ice cream? Think about it. All right, let me share with you what I have. The cost of the package that must be placed in that must be put in consideration, right? Is it expensive? Is it reasonable? Can the business afford it? The attractiveness of the package in terms of color and shape, customers are drawn to what they see, and most times before they see what the product actually looks like, the first thing they're going to see is the package, right? So you have to think about how you want it to look for it to appeal to customers. The durability of the package, without the ice cream leaking, whatever the package is it able, can it withstand not being soaked easily? You have ice cream sometimes, like even in the cones, and it's soaked through and so on. So think about the package. How easily can the package be stored? That again. And also how easily the package can be carried. So those are some of the factors that could be determined, that could be considered in determining the type of package to use. All right, let's look at B. What is B saying? Describe 3 methods which Anne could use to promote the sale of the new ice cream flavor. So what are some methods that can be used? Sales promotion, can you think of any? All right, so the first one is that free sampling. Listen now, when something is new, nobody knows how it tastes. People are not necessarily going to be quick to, try a new flavor unless it's like a well-known brand ice cream like Devon House, and everybody knows that. Listen, man, any flavor of Devon House ice cream that you try, it's going to be good. And so in this case, we don't know how famous Anne is in her community, right? And if she's putting out a new flavor out there, people might not readily gravitate to it. And so a good idea is for her to let them sample it. So when they sample it now and they say, this tastes good, I let me buy it. So listen, sometimes you have to undergo some kind of loss to introduce your product to customers, to get their feedback, see if they like it. And trust me, if it's good, you don't have to worry. If your product is good, they're going to purchase it. Another way is that Anne could offer price discounts, can sell the new flavor at much lower cost than her other ice cream, just to get customers to purchase it and to encourage them to try it out, right? At least it's not as costly as the others, so they will try it. And another way as well is to buy one, get one free. She can offer to give an extra ice cream in that flavor for every one of the new flavor purchase. If you buy one of these new flavor, I'll give you an extra one, and especially persons who have children. This would be a good deal and they will gravitate towards it. All right, so those are some of the methods to promote sales of the new ice cream flavor that Anne could engage in. All right, let's look at C. List 4 techniques of selling which could be used to encourage consumers to purchase the new ice cream flavor. So when you talk about techniques of selling, if you even think of like personal selling, like sales rep, when they do try to get customers to purchase their products, here are some techniques. You have what's called hard selling, soft selling, consultative selling, and solution selling. These are just a few. You have a few more, right? But these are some of the techniques, and I can just explain a few here. When you talk about hard selling, is when the sales rep, will stop at nothing to make sure that the goods are sold, and so they are aggressive in their approach, right? And which can be a little turn off, which can turn off some customers. But the sales rep, it's like the sales rep is saying, listen, you come in this store and you're not leaving until you purchase something. And so the sales rep is at it. Alamat, he's determined that he's going to sell something today. And the soft selling is more like it's more the soft approach is the sales rep is not so aggressive, and so yes, the sales rep will tell you about the product and so on, but try to a little persuasion, subtle persuasion to get you to purchase a product, and you can read up on the other types. All right, the next question is, explain 2 terms of sale which Anne may use to encourage other businesses to purchase the new ice cream flavor. Now, terms of sales are different ways that you can, pay for goods, right? So the first one is consignment. So as it says here, that Anne would give the new ice cream flavor to the other businesses to sell without having them paying for the goods right away. She will give them the opportunity to pay for the ice cream after it has been sold by those businesses. So the business now, these other businesses will be more encouraged naturally to sell the new flavor, so because they will not be in a position where they risk having their cash tied up in the ice cream if it's not sold, because it's a new flavor. These business people don't know yet how the customers will respond to the new flavor until they test the waters. So if Anne wants to get other businesses to sell the new ice cream flavor, it makes sense to do so on consignment. The other one is trade discount. So what Anne can do is to these other businesses, give them a discount, and when she lowers the prices, guess what? These other businesses will be, the owners will be smiling, because it's an opportunity for them to be able to make more profit. So the greater the discount, the more profit these other businesses will make. And so this is also a way that Anne could try to get other businesses to sell her new ice cream flavor. So we're on to the final question, number 5. Yes. All right, 5A1. State 2 indicators of a country's standard of living. So remember, now we talk about standard of living, basically how much resources or so on the country has available, or simply put, like how much the people in the country can afford, how much the country can afford. Are they wealthy? Are they, hey, How are they living? So are you thinking of any indicators yet of a country's standard of living? Nope. Yes. All right. So here are some indicators. The level of consumption of goods and services. You know that the more goods and services a country or its people are able to afford, you know that they're living it up. The standard of living is, it could be considered to be high. However, if they hardly can buy anything or eating anything in that country, then the standard of living is really poor. Average disposable income of the population, their disposable income that they have available to spend, right? Do they have very little disposable income, or they have a lot of disposable income? So if they have a lot of disposable income, then hey, you have some people with money there, so they can buy what they want. They can buy their house, they can buy their cars, they can buy whatever it is that they want. Other indicators include access to modern technology and level of investment in research and technology in the country. All right, so those are some indicators of a country's standard of living. State 2 indicators of a country's quality of life, and it's important that you can tell the difference between standard of living and quality of life, right? So when you think of quality of life, think of how much you can enjoy, yeah, because you can look at some indicators. Extent of security enjoyed. Are you able to freely walk on the road? Are you able to freely live in peace, basically, right? Availability of healthcare facilities. Is there good healthcare? Is there a good healthcare system in place, right? Where you basically can go to a hospital or to a clinic to get treatment for just about any kind of sickness, so that is important as well. And when people are sick, they can't enjoy their life. No, not at all. All right, so there are some other indicators like availability of educational and recreational facilities, and diet and nutrition, and life expectancy. Those are some indicators of a country's quality of life. All right. So the next question, B. Define each of the following terms: gross domestic product, or GDP. Does that ring a bell? Yes, no, maybe so. All right. So when we talk about GDP, we're talking about a measure of the monetary value of goods produced and services provided within a country during a 1-year period. So it looks at only what is produced within the country. All right. So remember, that's GDP, only looks at what is produced within the country. Gross national product, no. It takes into account what is produced locally, which is a GDP, and also what is produced by firms abroad that are owned by local individuals and the government, which is that section of when you're calculating the national income, which is called the net property income from abroad. And really, when you do get the GNP, is when you add the GDP to the net property income from abroad. All right. All right, so here is part C. Outline 3 ways in which a country could benefit from international trade. So remember, we talk about international trade is when countries trade with each other, right? So wherever you are in the world, countries are trading with each other. What's the benefit of that taking place? And remember, it's outlined. So you can't just list, you need to give a little bit more detail than what you would do with listing. When you list a point, you have to briefly explain what that is. So let's look at one of the benefits. Let's look at some of the benefits here. 1, able to get goods that they cannot provide for themselves due to the type of climate the country has. So many countries, like in the European countries, when it's winter, it's very cold, and they are not able to grow tropical fruits such as banana. And so it's a good thing that they are trading with other countries, so they can get these things that they cannot provide for themselves. See, international trade is a good thing. Two, it allows for foreign direct investment, where individuals in one country are able to set up businesses in other countries. And guess what? This will provide employment for many persons within that country. And I know some countries, that they rely a lot on foreign direct investment. And the third now benefit is that countries are also able to get additional goods, as they might not be able to produce all that is needed. So even though a country may produce its own rice, they may have to import more rice to meet the demand of the people in the country. Even though a country may produce its own rice, it may have to import more rice to meet the demand of the people in that country. And I'm sure you might be familiar with that in your country. Even though the same things are produced in your country, your government still allow for that good to be imported in a country. Let's look now at D. Let's look at D. Explain one negative effect of each of the following factors on the economy of a developing country: migration. And this happens a lot with developing countries. It happens a lot in my country. Not sure if it happens in yours, but I would want to believe so, especially if you are in the Caribbean country. So can you think of any negative effect of migration? Can you think of any? All right, let's see what I have here. It says the developing country can suffer from brain drain, where it loses a lot of its skilled workers. The country will now be forced to train new persons to fill the gap, and sometimes the country may have to get workers from outside of the country, as not enough skilled persons are available. For example, there might be a shortage of nurses, which happens quite often in my country. Doctors, and sometimes teachers, right? So migration has a negative effect, right? With brain drain, the skilled workers are leaving, right? And leave a crisis, and a crisis is taking place in that industry where there is a shortage. Unemployment, no. Unemployment, oh Lord, nobody wants to have to deal with this. Unemployment can cause a lot of persons to not be able to provide for themselves, which will cause a strain on the government to provide for these persons. Sometimes what can happen is that the government does not have all the resources, which is what's happening in many countries, to provide health care, education, food, and other necessities. So there's not enough government facilities, and so many times you find a lot of people become homeless, roaming the streets, just not having anywhere to go, right? So that is a negative effect of unemployment. So it wasn't so bad. We have just completed January 2021 Principles of Business CXC past paper. Now, I need you, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, need you to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button so that you can be aware of when I make a new upload, more past papers to come. And so stay close, all right? Remember to share with your friends who you believe will benefit. Hope you learned something. See you next time.